Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Friday, the 2nd of January 2026. Welcome to Morning Brew on Politics Social. My name is Graham Hughes. I will be your compere for the next hour or so. Hello. Big shout out to our friends in the chat here. We've got Sarah Davis, we've got Bob McFiggin, we've got Townsend, Tanner, Making Tube, we've got Diz in there. We've also got Pete's Music and Simon Smith and Veg Pie and Liam and others. Hello, welcome to the show. If you'd like to join our friends, the socialites in the chat, who, this is a two-way conversation, so please, you're welcome to opine openly. If you aren't being a bigot, don't be a bigot, or I will mute you and boot you. Yeah, but if you would like to take part in today's show, please give us a like. And also subscribe to the channel, and that's how you get to join in with the chat. It is subscribers only. We won't have any of these lurkers lurking away, not letting their presence be known. Well, you can if you like. You can be a lurker. You just can't join in with the chat. Good Happy New Year to everyone. Veg Pie says, Happy New Year to everyone I haven't already wished Happy New Year to. Yes, and I think we should maybe say Happier New Year, shouldn't we? Could we have a Happier New Year than what last year was. And some news that came out yesterday, which I'm quite excited about, so I'm just fondling my aid angel over here. His face is getting a bit curly. Is that the demon of the White House, who's turned the White House into a shite house, Donald Judas Trump, apparently he takes more than the recommended daily dose of aspirin. Come on, aspirin, do your thing. So, because he likes his blood nice and thin. He said he likes nice thin blood. He went nice thin blood. This is what he said, genuinely out of his face. He takes far too much aspirin each day because he likes having nice thin blood running through his heart. Joke's on him. He has no heart. But hopefully we will be celebrating the big, beautiful day sooner rather than later. Now, today, what I want to talk about is multiculturalism, because Zoran Mandami was initiated, whatever it's called, invested into the office of being the mayor of New York yesterday. And now that we have a Muslim mayor of New York and a Muslim mayor of London, I just wanted to bring this up because we have an unprecedented ethnic and religious representation of different ethnicities at the top of public life. We recently had a Sikh as prime minister. We have a black woman who grew up in Nigeria as the leader of the opposition, the official leader of the opposition. We've also had Obama as president of the United States, a black man. It was like an absolute eon ago now, but it did happen. It did happen. But at the same time, we're seeing hate crimes rising, particularly against black, Asian, and Muslim communities, and also trans people. And I'm not going to be talking about that so much this morning. I'm going to be focusing more on this idea of multiculturalism and whether it's succeeded or not. I would say it has succeeded, but it's getting blown from one side to the other by the forces of evil who are raging this storm of hate over our heads at the moment. But yeah, as it comes down to trans people, I know a lot of trans people watch this channel. My heart goes out to you. I hate the manufactured hate that is shunted towards trans people as part of a coordinated effort by oil barons, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the fiefdom of the Northern Asian wastelands, also known as Russia, and other toxic people and places and things that have all conspired together to go, oh, how can we get people who are normally on the left to join us? Because don't forget, 10 years ago, Graham Linehan was writing about how bad Brexit was going to be. J.K. Rowling was writing about how bad Brexit was going to be. A few years ago, Graham Linehan was saying, oh, we're not going to achieve peace until, what was it? Was it Trump was run off a cliff or something? He's changed his tune, hasn't he? Because the oil companies, quite rightly, identified a way of splitting the left and the right. Not the right, not so much because they're full of hate anyway. But and saying, oh, actually, we're gonna invent this false equivalence, right, where to be a false dichotomy, I suppose is a better term for this, where you can't be a good feminist if you also support the trans community. And it's like, no, you can't be a good feminist if you do not support the trans community. But that's a different topic, and we talked about it before, we will talk about it today. But today, we'll talk about it again. But today I do want to talk a little bit about this real, very real dichotomy that we are seeing more and more people from different ethnic backgrounds integrating themselves into British and American society so well that they end up running as the mayor of London and winning, or the mayor of New York and winning. This is it's not a paradox, I don't think. Of hate crimes rising while we're seeing more people from other backgrounds in prominent positions, but I do think it's kind of like a collision between progress and reaction. So, like I said, the fact that we now have mayors of two of the most major and important and richest cities in the world, New York and London, both have now Muslim mayors, that normalizes minority leadership rather than exceptionalizing it. And having a Hindu prime minister demonstrated that these barriers don't really exist. These man-made barriers, usually made by men, to office or to getting on in life, don't exist in those terms. Okay, if you've had the luckiness, the luck to be born to rich parents like Rishi Sunak and go to a private school, Winchester? Did you go to Winchester? Or you got rich parents like, I don't know, Kemi Badenoch, who went to private school in Nigeria. Or maybe you're Zoran Mandami and your mum directed the movie Monsoon Wedding, which was about a Hindu wedding, but it was called Monsoon Wedding. Fantastic movie, by the way. It came out in 2002. I saw it in India. It's quite funny. I can't remember because it's like a lot of it's in different languages. I seem to remember watching it in India and having 3 sets of subtitles. And I think in the actual film itself, the swear words were censored, but they still came up on the English subtitles. So if you could read English, you could read what they were saying. Anyway, but I got off the subject a little bit there. But yeah, this is why I feel like, that there are still very much glass windows. What's wrong with me this morning? Glass ceilings, especially for people who are who didn't go to private school, and then within those ceilings there's other ceilings further down, because if you didn't go to private school and you're black, or you didn't go to private school and you're Muslim or Hindu or Asian, you're going to face barriers and difficulty. So you've got this weird system now where we have this amazing equality at the top. If you're born into a particular group of people, the rich, then the obstacles that hold the rest of us back simply aren't there. And when people go, there's all these areas where there's no white people, I'm like, yeah, it's probably because you don't give people who are brown a job. It's probably because you see someone's name and decide that they're black from their name on their CV and don't give them the job. What was it? There was a study done a few years ago, Femi brings this up, where if you put a black-sounding name on a CV, you're a lot less likely to get the job than if you put a white-sounding name on the CV. And this is one of the reasons why CVs should be read blind. There shouldn't be a photograph. There shouldn't be not even a name. It should just be, here's what I've done. Here's what I can do for you. Can you give us a job? But yeah, that's something that they have in some sectors, not all. And obviously, if you're trying to get a job in a corner shop and no one's giving you a job, but someone who is of the same ethnicity as you will give you a job, then you're going to create areas where there are more of one group of people than another. And this has happened for a long time. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying this is why it happens. The reasons why the racists go on, I don't like all these people from a different country or different background living together in the same place. And you're like, yeah, but you make that happen by not allowing these people to integrate into the wider society, And we've seen this for years with Chinese people who come into a particular area of a city, and it's now Chinatown. And we celebrate. We had a massive arch in Liverpool to celebrate our Chinatown. In Manchester, they've got a smaller arch because, Manchester's not as good. And then down in London, you got Chinatown. You got Chinatown in many cities around the world, famously in San Francisco, where Kurt Russell went and kicked ass. Was it Kurt Russell in Big Trouble in Little China? God, that's a wacky fucking movie. Jesus Christ. With Kim Cattrall. Anyway, my mate, Salem, changed his name to Mike and took his wife's surname for that very reason. Yeah, Martin, it is disgraceful. But when we see these viable success stories of, Sadiq Khan's dad was a bus driver, so I can't even include him in this idea that, it's only the people who are already born into the upper crust that managed to get into these positions of power. Like, your race, your religion means less if you have the money. If you got money, they'll fucking love you. If you don't have money, they don't. Look at the difference that we think and we treat as a country, as a nation, as NATO, as the UN, as whatever, how we think of and we treat people from Saudi Arabia, who are lauded and given golden globes to hold and glowing globes to hold, and given World Cups, and they can give as much bribery money to the Trump crime family as they like. That's fine. And the way we think about people from Yemen or Eritrea or Somalia, even better example, or Ethiopia. Not Ethiopia. Afghanistan. We tend to think, Afghanistan, are not doing what those people want us to do. Bloody Taliban. Actually, the Taliban are pretty fucking progressive compared with the Wahhabists running Saudi Arabia right now, as a bit of information. But we give them more credit, we give them more credence, we give them more World Cups, and we don't invade Saudi Arabia because they've got money. And isn't this weird? The way that we can defeat racism, the way that we can defeat abuse of people for having different religions, different ethnicities, different backgrounds, is through money. Because if someone has money, they suddenly get respect. In our capitalist system, that's the way it works. So all we need to do is make sure that every person who is of an ethnic minority in this country is a millionaire. That's it. I've done it. I've solved racism. Yay! White guy in his 40s solves racism. Yeah. One of the things I want to talk about this morning is just how hate crime has just skyrocketed in the last decade, in the last 10 years. You've got, the political representation changes, institutions faster than it changes social attitudes. That's what I've got to say about that. And racism mutates when overt exclusion becomes socially unacceptable. So where people in this country used to just be racist, they now say, I'm not a racist, but... And then they go on to say something racist. But they know in their little back of their little lizard brain that they shouldn't be racist. Like, being racist is a bad thing. Like, being racist, bit naughty, bit rude. And British people don't like being rude. Okay, it's a big thing here. Americans love being rude. They get off on it, as well as, killing each other. But, that it's one of the things that really excites Americans, is being fucking rude. Whereas in Britain, we tend to be a little bit more... And when there is a Karen or a male Karen screaming their heads off in an airport or in a supermarket, most people will just be like, they get that British bemused look of the bystanders going, because we don't like making a scene. We don't want to make a scene, do we? But what's happened is that the prejudice that we've seen over the last 10 years, it's mutated from overt racism by a minority to everyday intimidation by a minority, but still it feels like there's more. But it's more like, everyday intimidation. And I think of people putting these fucking flags on the fucking lampposts around here in Durham, where they all voted for refuck in the last local elections. And now we have a refuck council who are putting up our council bills by 5%. They've got a £5 million shortfall in their budget. They're doing really shit because they don't know what they're doing. A bunch of fucking clowns. But the dickheads around here, like, they put up fucking flags on all the fucking flag posts. Yeah, that'd be a great idea. Fucking dickheads. Not all of them, by the way, not all of them, but yeah, enough of them. My mate saying, Mike, you're talking about your mate, Salim, a very talented programmer, but getting work as a freelancer who's finding it hard to get past first contact. Yeah, because of structural racism, endemic racism. And it's surprising how you see structural racism in companies. You need 2 degrees in some cases if you're not white. Yeah, you're absolutely right. The Fine Print brought out a good video about how Ellison and Blair are conspiring to institute a surveillance state, says Rosebud, which does not sound good. We're already in a state, I don't want to downplay that, but we're filmed more than any other bloody country. We have more. Don't we have more CCTV cameras per square kilometer than anyone else? And I was at Sunderland versus Newcastle game a few weeks ago. I love the fact we beat Saudi Arabia. Yeah, British rudeness is subtle. Americans don't do subtle. Oh, very good points, Martin. Because yes, you are right actually there, mate. Because you've said British people do like to be rude, but they like to be subtle about it. Yeah, okay. Good point, well made. I will change my tack on that because it's not like British people don't like being rude. I think they do. They don't like to be seen as being rude, so they'll be rude in a very polite way. Remember, reform all the subsidies and council tax for less well-off in Council Durham. Yes, the refuckers have taken away all of the subsidies for people on low incomes, people who are disabled, people who are struggling. They've taken away all of the subsidies for them because fuck the poor. This is a party where 4 out of the 5 people who run it, who are MPs at the moment for it, are millionaires, and 4 out of 5 of them went to private school. They are born millionaires, effectively. They say, oh, no one's born a Christian child, no one's born with prejudice. Yeah, but fucking some kids are born with a silver spoon up their ass, and they generally join reform and be horrible. And say, let's fuck the plebs. Let's entice the plebs with racism and get them to fuck themselves. Hey! Fucking bastards. Anyway, but yeah, police record that hate crimes have risen after several years of decline. In the last year or so, last couple of years, racially motivated offences form the majority of hate crimes, and religious hate crimes, especially targeting Muslims, show clear spikes, and political flashpoints and public transport emerges as there was a story about it in The Guardian today. Public transport is a recurring site of abuse due to anonymity and alcohol. And we've also got sort of these moral panics, trigger events, isolated crimes are routinely racialized by the media, by politicians, by wankers on the internet. Tragedies become pretexts for collective blame rather than individual accountability. Whenever a white person commits a crime, look, you don't need me to tell you this, we're going over old ground here, but whenever a white person commits a crime, they do not represent all of white people. They just don't. Unless you commit it in another country, I guess. But in this country, if Harold Shipman goes and kills hundreds of old ladies, it's not like, oh well, all old white men must be fucking evil then. But if a Muslim goes and does something horrible, it's like, oh yeah, all Muslims are bad. Migrant accommodation sites are framed as threats to all women and girls. Possessive use of the word "are" there. Also, they usually spell it incorrectly, but that's not the point. They're seen as threats to society. Hotels full of migrants, so it's not the hotels themselves; it's the migrants. It's the people who come over here fleeing war. They're seen as a threat. They are framed as a threat rather than an issue that we need to deal with in a humanitarian and caring and compassionate way. These people are fleeing war, and over 3/4 of them are genuine asylum seekers. And then you've got the Farage bullshit of repackaging racism as common sense, and migration is framed as an invasion rather than a policy choice. Don't forget, everyone who comes here who isn't on a little boat or running through the Channel Tunnel or on the back of a truck or something has a visa. The majority of people who are here illegally, the people are not illegal, their actions might be illegal, but they're not illegal themselves, overstay their visas. Visas that have been issued by the British government. The numbers of visas given out by the British government is set by the British government. If they don't want people to come here, they can simply issue no visas for people to stay and work. You can issue them for coming here on holiday, but that's the way you stop people coming to this country, because it's an absolute fucking ball ache to come into this country because you've got to go across the freezing cold channel 30 miles in a leaky fucking boat. And it's very fucking dangerous. Very, very dangerous. And only desperate people will even attempt it. And then you got the cultural anxiety and the discontent that is felt by many in my generation and millennials and even now coming up with Generation Z. Of it's like, you got to understand that people say, oh well, these divides in generations, these terms that we give, these names we give different generations. It's not really fair because in each segment, in each cohort, there are rich and poor. There's black and white. There's people who are doing well, people who aren't doing so well. There's people who are single, people who are married. Blah blah blah. Okay, right. But here's the thing. I don't think that I'm getting my not all boomers. Get my not all boomers animation at the ready. Do not worry, veg pie. When it comes to the lived reality of so many people now, boomers don't get it. Okay, I'm just going to put the not all boomers up. Not all boomers. Go on, do it. Right, not all boomers. Some boomers get it. All right, okay. But there are a lot of boomers who simply do not understand that then when they were running around in the 1970s, working an entry-level job and having enough money on one income and an entry-level job to afford a home and have money left over at the end of each month to spend on whatever the fuck they wanted, alcohol, cigarettes, drugs, having children. That world doesn't exist anymore. In fact, even in the 1990s, on average, if you were on the average wage at that time, after paying all your bills and your rent, your mortgage, whatever the fuck it was, you would have, on average, £500 a month left to play with. Literally, to play with. And don't forget, that was the time of the £1 flights to the Algarve, on EasyJet or Ryanair. So you can have 500 bloody flights over there. I mean, it didn't quite work that way, but, you could have done that. These days, if you are on the average wage, which is about £27,000, which is more than I earn, by the way, super chats are open, £27,000, by the time you've paid for your rent or your mortgage or and your electricity and your council tax and your water and everything else you've got to pay, you have about £100 for the month. For the month. Back in the 90s, a pint of lager was £1.25 in a cheap pub. Nowadays, a pint of lager in a cheap pub is a fiver. In most pubs, it's now over £7. I bought a bottle of beer in a bar in Liverpool, a pub in Liverpool a couple of weeks ago when I was in Liverpool. And it was £5.70 for a bottle of beer. Was it amazing beer that had been, kissed by maidens in a Polynesian island and rolled on the thighs of virgins? No, it was just fucking beer. It was just Alka-Pops. It was not Alka-Pops, Eurofizz. Just lager. Just lager. Not like special lager. Not special lager. Just fucking lager. Unfucking-leavable. You're ineffective of even in the 90s, Graham. I made an average wage and I could afford to pay my mortgage, feed myself and my family and still go to Glastonbury. Yeah, you're ineffective because the ticket for Glastonbury was £57. Now it's like closer to £400. Yeah. So not only did you have like 500 quid left over on average at the end of each month to spend on whatever shit you wanted to spend it on, also the things you spent it on were substantially cheaper. And that world does not exist anymore. And God, if you want to make my blood boil, just say to me, oh yeah, these young people are just lazy. They're just lazy. They need to pull themselves up by the bootstraps. It's like, fuck off. Anyway, we just got our first super chat of the morning in from Francis Winrow. Thank you so much, Francis, for the £2 super chat. That's very cool. Very, very charitable of you. Thank you. And I'm going to set a goal. I'm going to set a New Year's goal for the New Year's. I'm going to get some New Year. Can we New Year confetti? Okay, and I hope you're going to join us tonight at 9:30 for the Friday night social, because we're going to be playing a game tonight, and you're going to be taking part in it. It's going to be a blankety blank family fortune style roundup of 2025, and we'll be asking your opinions. So bring your opinions, because you will be deciding what the correct answer is, and we'll be taking points and mean prizes. All good. Totally agree that the boomers are out of touch. Yeah, Townsend. Look, not all boomers, but they just don't get this point, and it's so hard to get them, because I've spoken to boomers who just do not get it. They'll say things like, "Well, in the 80s, our interest rates on our mortgages was like 12%, 15%, 20%." I'm like, yeah, look at 20% of a bag of potatoes. You could buy a house for 15 grand. 15 grand. You could pay it off in a few years. Many people did. This is why people ended up owning multiple properties. And then along come the fucking 90s, 1995, they changed the rules so you can get a buy-to-let mortgage, so you can not have the money for a house, and you can put other people in the house and make those other people work all day and give you half their money so that they earn through their labour, and you can use that to pay off your mortgage, which means that you're buying the house with their labour. You buy a second house that you don't need with someone else's labour. And if someone can explain to me how that is a correct, a right, a good thing to do, an honourable thing to do, you may as well go talk to a tree. I'm just not going to listen. I'm just like, what? I'm just going to waft slightly in the breeze. Sorry, Graham, you can't have my onions. Yuri, but I want your onions. But according to the boomer generation, generations after them need to cancel their Netflix, stop eating avocado toast, and stop going to coffee shops. We can't afford to go to... It's like £4.40 for a coffee now. £4.40. I just... again, that's not even for, like, amazing coffee. You go into some of these cafes, right? Usually, it's the cafes that are, like, attached to something like a museum or an art gallery or whatever. You go into the cafe, and you go, "Can I have a coffee, please?" And they go, "Okay." And they put the coffee thing into a coffee machine that makes it like a coffee vending machine. Like we used to have in the 80s. Remember the coffee vending machines? It's just one of them. And you're like, really? Really? This is what I'm paying £4.40 for? Give me cinemas. Cinemas do this. Get a coffee in a cinema. I quite like this now, because when I was younger, obviously I'd say, I'll take in a soft drink or whatever. But generally it was a sugary drink that I'd usually smuggle in my smuggler's jacket here. This has got 17 pockets. This top, 17 pockets. The pockets here, you can fit a full bottle of wine in this pocket here, and a second one in this pocket over here, straight in there. And then it's got like pockets all in the inside. It's brilliant. This one. If I was I'm not, but if I was a shoplifter, mate, I should sell these on eBay, shouldn't I? Shoplifters. You can't get them. This is the thing. I was going to replace this with a different one, but you just can't get them like this. Possibly because I bought it in Afghanistan. I don't even know if it was made in Afghanistan. It's probably made in China, but wow, it stuck with me in a way that my Levi's jeans didn't. So for those watching the other day, you'll know that I was a bit upset about the fact that my Levi's do not Levi no more after just 2 months. 2 months. Because I used fabric softener. They wouldn't give me a refund because they went, "Oh, did you use fabric softener, Graham? Did you, you mad bastard? You know what that does to jeans?" I'm like, it's not a stripped type of game. Oh, sad. Yet every time I walk past Costa or Wetherspoons, the majority of customers are boomers. Says, yeah, because they're fine. They're doing fine. It used to be 1 in 5 boomers were millionaires. It's now 1 in 4. 1 in 4, 25% of boomers are millionaires, at least on paper, because they have a house worth X amount. Preparing a pot noodle is not cooking, kids, says L. $4.40 for half a handful of beans. Sounds like a purchase of North America from the Indian tribes. Indeed. Ooh, Wayne's in there saying, "Oi, oi, you slags." All right, Billy Butcher from the TV show The Boys. He's here. Billy Butcher's here. Wetherspoons always have an ambience of a darkened alley. Wetherspoons to me just seems like a care centre for like elderly people. It's just like a care centre but with alcohol. And soulless places, genuinely soulless. Just like it's like a McDonald's, but like for beer. Yeah, and plus the guy who owns it is a privately educated multi-millionaire Brexitter, and I fucking hate him. Yeah. Happy New Year. I was out working last night in the Essex snow. Ooh. Well, this is weird, Wayne, because Tam was talking about this last night in our chat, wasn't she? It's snowing down in Essex, right? But here in Durham, where it's usually frozen as shit, we've got blue skies today. No snow where I am. Anyway, if someone else is in Durham and like under 15 feet of pure white snow, let me know. But I'm not. Anyway, so where was I? I was talking about this weaponization of cultural anxiety, if you want to call it that. But it's Brexit. It's Brexit. I know that sounds really simple, and there's a lot of complex issues that come into the rise in hate crime around Britain in the last sort of 10 years. But it's Brexit, because Brexit acted as an accelerant. It acted as a catalyst. It legitimized the idea that national decline is a thing and it has an external enemy. Rather than looking in on ourselves and maybe looking at a map of the railways in 1960 and the railways now and going, who took away all those railway lines? Maybe that's why the railways are so expensive and shit. Maybe it was the Tories. Maybe it was the Tory minister, Ernest Marples, the Tory Secretary of State for Transportation, who did that because he wants to build his fucking motorways like fucking the bad guy in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Yeah, like Christopher Lloyd in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, if you can believe that. But yeah, so the referendum normalised racialised language under the banner of sovereignty. Never forget the poster that Nigel Farage was pictured in front of on the day that Joe Cox was murdered by an extremist right-wing white gobshite who murdered a young mother of two, screaming in the street for everyone to see. Do you know what I mean? This guy just was so unhinged by what he'd been reading, what he'd been hearing from the Farage mob, that he went and murdered a young mother or two while screaming "Britain first, Britain first." And the post-Brexit failure, and this is interesting and something that I don't think gets pointed out enough, is being displaced onto migrants instead of policymakers. Why are we waiting so long to see a doctor? It's because of migrants, they tell us. No, it's because of policies that were taken up by the Tories. Why is there no money anymore? Because of policies by the Tories. Why can't I get a house? Oh, it's because all these black people are in the waiting queue and they get bumped up the queue faster than... bullshit they do. But if you got a white name, you're more likely to get a fucking job. Fuck off. Oh, yeah, no, but they're all taking our houses, all the council houses. No, they're not. They're not. That's why you see so many fucking homeless people on the streets. Policy failures. Not migrants. Not people from other countries. Not people who are different skin colours. Not with different religions. Not them. Not transgender people. They're not causing all these problems. These problems are caused by policy failures. Actually, I say failures. They wanted this to happen because what has happened in the last 10 years is the rich, the super rich, have got richer than ever before, and the rest of us have got collectively poorer. And now as a millennial, we are the first generation to actually be poorer than our parents' generation. In history! In motherfucking history! That never happens. We might have a recession. We might have a depression. Doesn't matter. And then it will bounce back. The people who were, born in the 1920s after the war did all right. I mean, they were the generation that grew up with this, the burgeoning middle class, which didn't exist before World War II. Not to any extent. You had the aristocracy, of course. You had the merchant class. But it was just them and everybody else. You had the rich, the nouveau rich, and everybody else. And that's the way that they want to go back to. That's what they want to do. And who are they blaming? People who are not white. Which actually is the default setting for humanity, by the way. I don't like the term people of colour. I don't use it, if you notice, on this channel. If I do use it, it's a bit sort of strained when I do, because I don't like it. I don't understand why it is acceptable to say that when it's not acceptable to say that someone is coloured. It sounds the same to me. It sounds like white is the default. the default setting of humans is white, and then we make these strange other humans from this white person by in the settings when you're setting up your avatar, you make the skin a bit darker and you make the eyes a different shape, and then that makes a different. No. Default setting of humans is brown. Whites are the freaks. We're the ones who interbred with the fucking Neanderthals. You talk about people get mixed. They still call it mixed marriages, don't they? Mixed marriage, is that even a term anymore? When a white person marries a black person, it's a mixed marriage. And you're like, what about the fucking white people having sex with Neanderthals? Literally a different species. Literally a different species of human. What about that, eh? What about the fact that my racial purity doesn't even cover my species? Whereas if you're from Africa, there's a very good chance that you won't have any Neanderthal DNA in you at all. You're 100% Homo sapien. Well done, motherfuckers. Yeah. But yeah, default. That's why I don't use the POC term. I don't like it. I've seen some commentators, black commentators, mentioning this and saying that I don't particularly like this phrase. I don't know where it came from. It's an American thing. But yeah, it is just, makes me feel a bit. I'd much rather say people who are black, people who are Asian, people who come from Africa, people of ethnicity, different ethnicities, and actually say what they are. Because when I talk about, if I say like people of color, I'm not talking about Polynesians really. I want to be specific about it. I want to be okay. Well, this country has a big problem with maybe people from South Asia, which is the Indian subcontinent. They have less of a problem with Saudi Arabians or people from Dubai. Isn't that weird? Because the rich go, I don't like these people coming from other countries. I'm going to leave this country. I'm going to leave this country because of all the people coming from other countries. Who are the people from other countries you don't like? The Muslims. Don't like the Muslims because they're going to do Sharia law on us. I'm going to wake up one morning and there's going to be a big Sharia law on my face. I'll be like, get off my face! And they won't be able to get off my face. So I'm leaving the country. Oh, where are you going? Dubai. What, that place that's full of Muslims, that's founded by Muslims, that's run by Muslims, that has literal Sharia law integrated into the national law of the Emirates. Okay. All right, Charlie, you fucking dickhead. Anyway, so that's what's happened in the UK with Brexit and any kind of policy failure, the policy failures of the Tories. And particularly the nightmare that has been Brexit. Why is our trade down? Why are we less rich than we should be in this country collectively? And it's because of Brexit, but they want to frame it as, no, we're going to blame the scapegoats. We're going to blame people from other countries, the poor people from other countries. And this is why, if you think about it, like, refugees are the best. They're the absolute best for the right wing. They fucking love refugees because not only are they generally not white, generally not particularly Christian, they are also, winner, poor. They've usually got fuck all because they've come away from wherever they were with whatever they could carry. But I'm not saying they're unskilled. There are people coming over who are architects and midwives and doctors, people who have got these amazing jobs and as engineers, civil engineers in their own countries who are qualified up the caboose. But they've got the money they needed to get over here. But generally speaking, they're not particularly loaded. So what a great group of people to demonize and say everything's their fault, everything's their fault. And you hear it in Liverpool, you hear it here in Durham. All the boat people coming over on boats, they throw their passports in the water, they come over in the boats. And I'm like, okay, can you see any? Can you see any of them? Where are they? Oh, I thought not. Now, who is the number one person in the world at making refugees? Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin, who has waged war against the West for the last 20 fucking years. Unfortunately, a lot of the people in the West don't even fucking realize this. Some in the West, like Nigel Farage, think that, Putin is our friend. He's not. He is our enemy. He is very, very much our enemy. And what he's done is he's not only invaded Ukraine, creating refugees, but he's also had his Wagner troops go to 26 of the 54 countries that make up Africa, to over half of the countries that make up the countries of Africa. And he has just under half, sorry. Let's just say half. Half the countries, right? And he has made those countries more unstable. He has put his own people, he's just in positions of power. He has decided that, elections are going to go one way or another. He has interfered. Why? To create more refugees. He interfered in Syria. Why? To create more refugees. He interferes in Iran, which also interferes with Lebanon and with Gaza and with Palestine, the West Bank as well, and in Yemen as well. They're all connected. He creates refugees. Why? Because refugees are the best for people on the right, because then they can turn around for all their policy failures, all their shit that they've given us, like Nigel Farage gave us Brexit. He can say, well, Brexit was going great, but it's all these refugees. That's the problem. That's all these refugees. They're a threat to you and your way of life, because they just don't integrate. But the Mo Farah won like 4 fucking gold medals running for Britain. And he was a Somalian refugee. Yeah, well, I mean, he's one of the good ones. One of the good ones. Oh, fuck off, Nigel. Yeah. But yeah, create refugees. That's how you do it. You create refugees, you get people to hate refugees, and then you stay in power forever because people will be too busy fighting each other over refugees rather than fighting against Putin or against the money men who run the show, the millionaires, the billionaires. Someone else who's created a lot of refugees is Donald Judas Trump by getting rid of US aid. There was a horrific story that was printed in the, was it the Wall Street Journal? Might have been. It was a couple of months ago, and it was talking about how many people had died as a result of the cuts to or the eradication of US aid in Kenya, in Mozambique, in Sudan, other countries in Africa in particular. Hundreds of thousands. And can I just make a plea at this point? Can you please stop using Twitter? I know that Facebook is fucking toxic as well. And I know there's problems with Snapchat and there's problems with TikTok and there's problems with this platform here on YouTube, right? I get that, right? But those other platforms are not owned by a man who has literally killed hundreds of thousands of Africans in the last year, on purpose to, I don't know, grow his fucking ego. The Doge cuts in America, when the final reckoning came down, it actually cost the American taxpayer money. They did not save a dirty dime, but they killed a lot of Africans. And what else have they done? They've created instability in these countries because more people are starving, more people can't get medical care because the US aid was cut overnight. They weren't even given a chance to find alternatives to get the medicine, to get the food. And it's quite important if you need food, if you need medicine for a fucking emergency, you can't wait 6 weeks for a container ship from China to get to you. You don't have 6 weeks if there's a child who is dying with HIV. Because their mother passed it on to them. Because the drugs that she needed to take, the procedure that needs to be done to prevent the mother passing HIV onto her newborn infant were not there. And so that baby died. And they did this because, first of all, they hate people who are black, especially African people Musk, as someone who grew up in racist apartheid South Africa, he hates black people. You've got to understand the level of disgust that people like Musk feel, Afrikaners like Musk feel when they have to deal with someone who is a black person. I'm not saying all Afrikaners are racist; they are definitely not. But he is. He absolutely is, and I guarantee he gets off on knowing that he's killed so many black Africans. As a white African, he has got off on it because he's a sick, twisted motherfucker. And what does this do? It creates more refugees. Like I just said, this is a great way, create instability, create poverty, create death, disease, famine, global climate change. Again, this is something that's going to create refugees. What a wonderful world it will be if there's only half of fucking Bangladesh left. Bangladesh mostly is under fucking below the sea level. Okay, so, and it's in the mouth of the Ganges River, isn't it? It's got the big mangrove forests, huge mangrove forests, which are going to be inundated because if the tide's coming in, everything's going to fucking die because it's salt water. And I know the mangroves can live in salt water, they'll be all right, but everything else that grows is going to be fucked. And in a country as big in terms of population as Bangladesh, where are they going to go? Then almost completely surrounded by India, a country they don't particularly get on with. Where are they going to go? Do you think that India's going to go, yeah, you can stop here, mate, no worries. We're doing fine in this climate change crisis that we're having, where the monsoons are getting heavier, the rains, there's more flooding, there's the glaciers are disappearing, so there's going to be no drinking water. Oh, yeah, you stay, 100 million of you, just come on to Uttar Pradesh and just fucking chill with us. No, not going to happen. Not going to fucking happen. They'll be told to keep going. They'll get to Bangladesh. And they'll get to Pakistan, which, used to be their country. They used to be East Pakistan, Bangladesh. They get to West Pakistan. Are they going to allow them to stay there? No, they're fucking not. Because Pakistan already has problems of its own. It always had insurgency groups trying to break away or break up Pakistan into different tribal entities. So where next? Iran. Iran. That's going to just say, oh yeah, do you know what? We've got no water left because of climate change. But just stay here. You guys, you're all good. You're 100 million people from Bangladesh. You're all good. Bollocks. Do you think they're gonna keep going? Yeah, I think they're gonna keep going. I think they're gonna go through Iraq. Is Iraq gonna keep? No, they're gonna turn up in Kurdistan in the north of Iraq. They're gonna turn up in Suleimania or in Erbil, and they'll be like, "Hey, can we stay here?" And the people there go, no. In fact, maybe there's some nice people, right? Just imagine for a moment, there are some nice people who say, yeah, some of you can stay. Let's say 10,000. That still leaves 99 million people. 99,999,000 people, right? 90,000 people. Great. Where are they going to go? Well, Turkey, of course. Are they going to stay in Turkey? Are they fuck? Because the people in Turkey aren't going to be able to take them on. So where are they going to get? They're going to keep going. Into where? Europe. And do these people, will they be able to just slip into society unnoticed by everyone else? Will they fuck? 100 million refugees flooding into Europe. And I'm sorry for using the word flooding. I probably shouldn't have used that. But in this circumstance, that would be a flood. That would be a tsunami. And that will be repeated, not just in Bangladesh, but all over the world. Because the people of India who have the crops are failing because of climate change are going to join them. The people in Pakistan who can't get fresh water from the rivers anymore because it's dried up. The Indus River is dried up. They're going to join them. The people in Iran who have no fucking water are going to join them. The people in Iraq who, when the two rivers, Euphrates and the Tigris, dry up, where are they going to go? They're going to join them. So rather than the breaking off and a few refugees staying in each country along the way, you're just going to have a march of people. And what are you going to do? And there'll be a point where the governments of these countries are like, fuck it. If they won't let us in, we'll take those places by force. This is the future that the billionaires want. They want to create refugees. They want to create instability. Because do you know what's really good? Do you know what's really, really good for billionaires? Blood on the streets. In fact, Jacob Rees-Mogg's father co-authored a book called Blood on the Streets, which is about, getting loads of money. Getting loads of money when things are bad. When things are terrible. Richard, donation for the next multi-pocket vest. Oh, thank you, Richard. That's very kind of you for the £5 super chat. And Martin says, £2, let's get the party started. Cheers, Martin. Yeah, maybe I should head back to Afghanistan and get another one of these. From Herat in the northwest of Afghanistan. God, it seems like a fucking dream now. It seems like I don't mean like a wonderful dream. I just mean it just seems like so otherworldly now, thinking back to those places that I went to on my own with only my backpack and my Scouse charm to protect me. Must have been fucking crazy. You have an effect of, I was married to a Muslim woman and the worst racism I faced was always from middle-aged white men. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. I think there's a certain frustration amongst middle-aged white men in particular because they grow up in a society where they're told that they can be superheroes, they're told that they can rule the world, they're told that they can be famous actors and they can be famous writers and they can do this amazing stuff. But even if you have the talent, if you didn't go to private school, especially in this country, you're fucked. I mean, you really are fucked. I know people think that I make too much of a deal about this, and I probably should make a little pop-up of saying, who's going on about private schools again? But just look at privateschoolmafia.com, please. Like, if there's any nagging doubts that about what I'm saying here, if you feel like, Graham, come on, it can't be that bad, please go to privateschoolmafia.com and see how bad it is. So we've been lied to all our lives. We can be heroes, but we can't. And there's a lot of middle-class, middle-aged white men who are incredibly frustrated because they've got there. They've got to the point that they were supposed to get to, and yet their lives aren't amazing. But here's the thing. Anything in life, this is human psychology, anything in life, 3 months, you get used to it. 3 months and it appears normal. No matter how awful your situation is or how good your situation is, it just appears normal after 3 months. It just becomes normality. And so people want more. And we see time and time again these very, very rich, privileged, sometimes Nepo baby motherfuckers who, get in the news and do all this stuff and they appear in films and they get all this money and more money and more money and money. And they're not happy. They're genuinely not happy. So they turn to drugs, they turn to alcohol, they turn to sex addiction, whatever it is, because they're not happy. Now that's for the rich. What about for the rest of us? You got a bunch of people, a huge cohort of people who've been lied to all their lives that they could be fucking heroes when they can't, because the neo-aristocracy is not going to allow plebs like us, to get ideas above our station, darling. I mean, imagine. Would you want to live next to someone with a regional accent? Would you? A neighbour talking to you over the hedge with a Brummie accent? I couldn't think of anything worse. Put them on the telly. Get an Irish guy to do a Brummie accent and put him on the telly. So he's just, got that bit of distance so we can watch the plebs from a distance. Let's have some more porn, povo porn so we can watch the plebs from a distance. Let's have that. Because we like to watch, but we just don't want to interact with these motherfuckers. We don't want them like literally talking to us and sullying our community with their regional accents and their skin that might not be, Snow White. Anyway, so yeah. And yeah, good morning, you wonderful lot, says Jack Russell's for you. Happy New Year's and all that. And I'm sorry, Ren, I'm sorry for the situation of the police. Have the police anything to go on, read the wee bastards? No one should be feel threatened in their home. It's so wrong. I'm sorry, Ren, if you're feeling threatened in your own home. That is fucking disgraceful. It's one of the reasons why I don't take down all the flags around here, because if it gets back to where I live, it's not fair. It's not fair on the people I live with. So I have to fucking suck it up. Can't make a big fuss. Really fucking grim. Lost Missionaries got a number there. 600,000 dead due to US aid. 600,000 people, over 500,000 people dead in Africa now in the last year. Not even a year, less than a year, because of Elon Musk. Please get off Twitter. Please stop using it. Please stop providing content for this absolute fucking monster. You are literally a jester performing for free in front of King fucking Joffrey. Okay, just stop it. Right? Just don't give him the fucking pleasure. Don't give him your time. Just allow Twitter to die. Just let it die. We don't need normal, real people on there. Okay, we just make it so it's all bots. All AI talking to itself into oblivion. Okay, just leave it. Just don't go anywhere near it. It is fucking toxic as fuck. Anyway, but it's also owned by the biggest mass murderer of the 21st century so far, in my opinion. Probably on a par with Vladimir Putin, but then Vladimir Putin's had a bit longer, hasn't he, to do all this shit. Also, we should mention also Trump over in America. We mainstreamed open racial hostility. Even before he was president, even before, God, I can't believe he's president, Jesus Christ. Again. the when he went after Obama saying he wasn't born in America, why did he go after Obama saying he wasn't born in America? No one went after um, John McCain, who wasn't born in America. He was born in Panama, actually. No one went after him for where he was born, but he went after Obama because Obama was black. And how could a black person possibly be American? In the minds of racist white Trump voters and Trump himself, abuse became performative and identity affirming rather than shameful. People stopped saying, I'm not a racist, but, and they reveled in their racism and his influence. Internalized grievance as grievance politics around the world, blaming everything that is bad on people who aren't white or aren't Christian. I mean, I'm not a fucking Christian. Don't blame me. But blaming everything on people who aren't one thing or another, rather than blaming it on who deserves the blame. But also, what racism does as well, it allows people not to blame themselves for the mistakes that they've made in their lives. I mean, everyone fucks up all the fucking time. We all do. We have a choice, and then in hindsight, that choice turned out to be a bit shit. And turns out that because our brains are wired in such a stupid way, we tend to dwell on the mistakes of the past rather than enjoy the wins, because the wins after 3 months become normalized, so we don't feel them in the same way. The grass is always greener, as they say. But yeah, people being racist allows people who have nothing else in their life to feel proud about. They get to feel proud about the fact that they're white, or they popped out their mum in this particular part of the world. Well done, knobhead. Good job. That is the ultimate participation medal, being a racist, being a patriot, being a nationalist. It is the ultimate participation medal. You did absolutely nothing you did to get that accolade, and you're fucking so proud of yourself. Look at me. I was born. Aren't I the best? So that's why racism is so useful for the right, so useful for the bigots, so useful for the money men, the billionaires, the oligarchs, the oil people. It's so good for them because it means that they can continue being absolutely fucking horrible, rinsing the shit out of the working classes and, walking away into the sunset whistling a jaunty tune, because no one's going to take them to court. No one's going to bring them to book. No one's going to get them arrested and thrown in fucking jail where they all fucking belong. I don't think you can be a good billionaire. I just don't think it exists. I wonder if anyone has taken Netanyahu to one side and explained to him what he's doing in Gaza is no different to what the Nazis did to the Jews in the death camps, and therefore he's a Nazi. Chris, first of all, I don't necessarily disagree with the fact that what's happening in Gaza is fucking horrific and is reminiscent of what happened in World War II. But I don't agree with using that kind of language, because Netanyahu, who's a fucking scumbag, don't get me wrong, he is Jewish, and so I wouldn't use that language to describe him, and I wouldn't use that to describe the regime. Happy to say that they're well, not happy to say, but I will say that they are causing a genocide. They are man-made, a manufactured, man-made genocide in Gaza. There's absolutely no doubt about it. I'll say that the way that they've settled in the West Bank is an absolute fucking disgrace. Shooting people and taking their homes is absolutely horrific. But I won't use the N word when referring to Israel or Israelis or Jews in general. It's just a word I don't use in that context, because first of all, it's really hurtful for a lot of people who have got nothing to do with this but just happen to be Jewish. But also, it can be taken in the wrong way. So, a bit of advice, Chris, is if you use that words to describe what they're doing in Palestine at the moment, what the Israelis are doing in Palestine, if you use that word, it makes a lot of people, especially people at the top, just turn off. They won't listen to you. They'll be like, oh no, he's just an anti-Semite, fuck him. And so in order to facilitate a meaningful discussion, I don't use that word, in the same way that I don't use the Z word either, because I think that's a fucking useless fucking word, because it doesn't mean to someone else what I think it means to me, or what you think it means to you. It doesn't. It means different things to different people. It's a really useless fucking word. It needs to be better defined than that. I prefer people not to use the Z word to clump together people who are Jewish, who think that Israel has a right to exist, which is most Jews, every Jew that I've ever met anyway. I know there's some people who are a bit weird about it because of biblical reasons, but the vast majority, 99.9% of Jewish people, believe that Israel has a right to exist. And I believe that Israel has a right to exist. I also believe that Palestine has a right to exist and peacefully coexist with Israel. I guess that's a story for another day. But when you conflate those people with these absolute fucking nutters going out with a Bible and a gun into the West Bank and Golan Heights and just murdering a family and stealing their home, those two things are not the same, and to mush them together using the Z word, I think is really problematic. And people who regard themselves as the Z word, they don't necessarily think of it in the same way that other people think of it as well. I think it's a really redundant word, and I think we should be more specific when we use particular terms in dealing with this particular conflict. First of all, to not alienate people who aren't the bad guys in all this, and actually laser focus our contempt and our anger and our frustration and our utter horror at the shit that is being done by the Israeli government. Benjamin Netanyahu wanted criminal in his own country, who was only doing this war, only did this war because he wanted to fucking not go to fucking jail, and the IDF, who are following these orders, and sometimes not even following orders, just doing their own fucking thing, and torturing people from Gaza, because they don't see those people as people. It's really fucking grim. And yes, I understand that we can talk about parallels with World War II and the build up to World War II. Absolutely, we can talk about that. But using the N word, I think, is difficult. The other N word, and also I think that using the Z word, I think that is particularly not helpful, because it can be used by people who are bad faith actors who want to just go, "Oh, you're an anti-Semite," and then they'll shut down the conversation. They won't let us get to the point where we're like, "This is wrong," because they've already shut down the conversation because you've used the Z word. And they'll just say, "I'm going to dismiss everything you have to say on this matter because I see you as an anti-Semite." And that's the difficulty. That is the difficulty. Okay, so moving on, just to talk about the fact that social media as well in the last few years has lost its guardrails, particularly X, Twitter. Please get off it. Content moderation rollbacks to remove friction against hate speech. Algorithms reward outrage, not accuracy. The truth is behind a paywall, whereas lies go around the fucking world 17 times and are rarely challenged now. Organised racists gain visibility, coordination and perceived legitimacy. That's another problem that we have right now. Because whereas we should be making pariahs out of racists, we're making pariahs out of people fleeing war. We're more concerned that there is a hotel full of asylum seekers, that which we see as a threat to our society, to threat to women and children, a threat to our way of life. We're not seeing racism in the same way. We're not seeing racists in the same way. But ironically, somewhat, those racists are a threat to our way of life. They are destroying our country from within with their fucking stupidity. Because you've got to be pretty fucking stupid to be a racist. And these people are feeling more and more empowered to speak out and speak their fucking stupid brains. And at least 52% of the voting population in the UK in 2016 who voted for fucking Brexit, they're dickheads. They're real fucking dickheads. And they shouldn't be pushing policy for this country because they haven't got a fucking clue how anything works. If they did, they wouldn't have voted for Brexit. And I'm sorry, I know there's people who say, "Oh, you shouldn't call them dickheads." Some people have come over to the light side. No, they haven't. In the last 10 years, look at the numbers of people who have actually changed their mind on Brexit. It's fuck all. And those people who did vote for Brexit and acknowledge that it's a fucking disaster, they don't blame Brexit itself. It's a bit like communists. They never blame the concept of communism not quite working with humans because human greed. It's a bit of a downfall of both communism and capitalism, to be honest with you. Both of them stumble at this final hurdle. Human greed. People are greedy, okay? And they do stupid stuff that isn't necessarily in their own interest, never mind anyone else's. But yeah, letting these dickheads vote and letting them vote on government fucking economic policy, trade policy? Are you fucking kidding me? It takes years, it takes decades to become a fucking trade expert. Get to the point where you can actually negotiate trade agreements with other countries. That is a specialised fucking job. It's a bit like everyone going, what's your view on brain surgery, Graham? I don't fucking know. I ain't got a fucking clue about that kind of... Why are you asking me? Well, we need to know whether to perform brain surgery on this patient or not. Why are you even asking me this shit? But by asking people it empowered the dickheads, especially when they won. You know, it could have shut down the dickheads. It could have been like, okay, we'll be quiet now. But they'll never acknowledge that Brexit fucking failed. In the same way that communists never acknowledge, or Marxists or Leninists, Stalinists, they'll never accept that their system failed. Even fucking, what's his name, that dickhead in Russia, Vladimir Putin, he will not accept that the USSR was a failure from the fucking start. You know, it was knackered from the start because it was inhumane and inhuman, both. Like, it just didn't work with the way that humans work. But he can't accept that. And so what the problem is the way it was implemented. How many times do we have to hear this about different political systems? Why didn't this system work? Oh, well, you know, it could have worked. It was just implemented wrong. It was just the implementation. And that's what they say now. Oh, you know, we never did a real Brexit, did we? What the fuck is a real Brexit? Is it getting us out the EU? Yep, we did that. Is it severing links that we've spent decades, if not centuries, getting with our European neighbours, creating these links that meant we could trade freely with them? It's not what you wanted. No, I wanted more. What the fuck did you want? Did you want us to fucking soar off our Britain from the coastal shelf and sail around the fucking world? You know, moor up in the fucking Pacific Ocean, the whole country. Yeah, God, go away from Europe now. Woohoo! What did they want? What did they think was going to happen? Well, they were told by the racists, by the dickheads, by the privately educated, the metropolitan elite, like Dominic Cummings, who lives in a fucking castle, went to the most expensive school in the whole county of Durham. He sold them Sunlit Uplands. Sunlit Uplands, 350 million quid for the NHS. Yeah. Wow. Wow. I disagree. People conflating Zionism and Jewishness are putting Jewish people in danger and they need to be separated. Yeah, but that again, Urbane Legends, I don't want to get into a big debate about this because this is what I want to talk about today. But you're conflating Zionism in what you've just said there because you've decided what Zionism means. And if I ask you, what does Zionism mean to you? It might be something very different to what someone else thinks that Zionism means. There are people out there who think that Zionism is simply believing that Israel has a right to exist as a country, which I believe, okay? Because, you know, if you're going to have a problem with Israel existing, an ideological problem, then you have to have exactly the same problem with Pakistan. That's it. Pakistan was created as the land of the pure, as in pure Muslims. The creation of Pakistan, the separation of India and Pakistan, partition, cost the lives of 1 million people. 1 million people. And that happened just less than a year after before Israel became an independent nation, a Jewish nation. So if you've got a problem with one, you really need to have a problem with the other. And I'm not making a false equivalence here. It was the end of the 40s, after World War II, these countries formed. It is what it is, right? That doesn't give Israel a carte blanche to do what it likes to the Palestinian people, to brutalize the Palestinian people, to commit genocide in Gaza. It does not give them the right to do that under any circumstances. In the same way that the creation of Pakistan does not give Pakistan the right to murder people from India. Or maybe we could talk about Kashmir, which is kind of like, Kashmir is kind of like the Gaza of the Himalayas, really, if you think about it, because you've got these two countries, India and Pakistan, and actually 3 countries, because China has a claim over some of it as well. 3 countries battling over who gets to control this area. And who are the last people to be consulted on this? The people who live in fucking Kashmir. Again, like in Gaza, people keep on having conversations about what we should do with Gaza and not inviting actual people from Gaza into the conversation. In the same way that America wants to have a conversation about what we should do about the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, and they don't invite anyone from Ukraine to come along and join the discussion. I get your points, But the problem is, and I keep stressing this, is that that word means different things to different people, and that's your problem. So don't use it. Be more. Oh, you don't. I'm not the boss of you. You can do what the fuck you like, but if you want to try and get people on side, and like I'm already on side. I do believe that Israel's actions in Gaza over the last few years have been absolutely reprehensible. I think, in fact, the actions of Israel for decades now has been reprehensible. It breaks my heart that in the mid-90s, when it looked like we were getting somewhere towards a genuine peace process between Yasser Arafat and Yitzhak Rabin was shot dead, not by a Muslim extremist, not by an extremist from Gaza or from the West Bank. No, a Jewish extremist. A Jewish extremist murdered. In the same way that in India, after partition, who got shot? Gandhi. Was it a Muslim who shot Gandhi? No, it was a Hindu. Just really grim. Really grim. It's not simply that it covers multiple territories. Sorry, I don't know what you're referring to there. The people who voted to... sorry, Lisa, can you be a bit more specific? The people who voted for Brexit wanted out of further political union, but wanted the economic union to remain. Yeah, but then we would be a rule taker, but not a rule maker, which makes no sense. Like, we can either do one or the other. We can be part of the EU and be part of the political system that was set up to give us people in this country a representative voice, or we could give all the power to make our international trade policies. We could give all that power to an unelected bureaucrat. And that's what we've done now. The people in charge of our trades, generally the people negotiating the trade agreements, are unelected bureaucrats. People like who's that creep who did the deal with the EU and then afterwards said it was shit. He's in the House of Lords now, isn't he? Gobshite. Went to private school, of course. I've forgotten his fucking name now. Anyway, him. But yeah, we decided to do away with the democratic apparatus of our membership of our membership of the EU entailed, which was that we could vote for representatives in the European Parliament who represented our interests. Unfortunately, this was used as an excuse by the UKippers and the Brexiters and the fucking Faragists to sabotage the system from within, which they did because people didn't really pay much attention to the EU parliamentary elections in the same way that we didn't really pay attention to local elections in which you get 50 votes and you can win. Fuck it. Let's lighten the mood. Quizzing. Are you quizzing? I can't do it in this little chat with restrictions, says Lisa. Sorry. There is restrictions. Same thing happened with trans people in the Supreme Court. We weren't allowed a voice while the likes of sex matters were allowed to set the narrative. Really good point, Sarah. Really, really good point. Not allowing people to come into the room who are actually being affected by the thing that people are talking about is fucking mind-blowing. And this is where you get in the COP summits where the majority of the people who turn up are actually delegates for the oil companies, and you're like, why is this set up this way? This is fucking insane. The people who should be represented at COP are the people who are on the front line of climate change. I should be hearing more about a contingent from Tuvalu in the Pacific Ocean than I should be hearing about from a contingent from Saudi Arabia in this particular matter. My son bought me new underpants. 2 sizes too small. Funnily enough, they fit him typically. Bloody hell, Wayne. I forgot it's Friday. Yeah, you lose track of the days, don't you, when you in this Twixmas period. Although we're all done now. We're in the new year. Monday morning, back to work. But we can still be hungover, I guess. So racists kind of feel emboldened now. I don't think anyone can disagree with that in this country. The stats show it, and the amount of hate crimes going up just show it. Demographic change is irreversible, and it's also highly visible, and cultural dominance is being lost where economic power, even when economic power remains within this clique at the top, and the backlash intensifies when people feel like they've had something taken from them. Because isn't that the amazing saying? I wish I could track down who was the first person to say this, but when you're used to privilege, equality feels like oppression. And that is so true. And that goes for everyone. The privilege of being white if that is eroded from people, they respond in a toxic way. They respond in a way where they're like, oh, I don't even want to fucking listen to this anymore. And they get angry. They get angry with people who are not, not white. They go, how dare you? How dare you take these things from me? How dare you take? It pisses people off when they see someone who they see as not British running around with a Union flag on their shoulders. It pisses some people off. They'll never accept Lewis Hamilton as a British driver. They'll never accept Mo Farah as a British British athlete, British runner. It's and it's sad. It's disgraceful, and it's a way of having us, the people who aren't billionaires, fight amongst ourselves. Just another string to their bow, I guess, to beat us with, to beat ourselves with. Why do we? You don't beat yourself with a bow, do you? Stick. It's just another stick that they give us. Say, here you go, beat yourself with this, and we're like, okay, master. One day I'll be rich like you. Yay, trickle down economics. Multiculturalism is not the problem. Diverse societies continue to function economically, culturally, and institutionally. As I always say, if immigration was a problem economically, then America would be the poorest country in the world, and North Korea would be the richest. Simple as that. And everyday coexistence vastly outweighs conflict, and the presence of minorities in power disproves claims of societal breakdown when people from different cultural, ethnic, religious backgrounds get into these positions of power. The society hasn't broken down. In fact, if anything, it's the whites, it's the rich whites like Nigel Farage who are bringing society down. They are the ones ruining our economy. They are the ones making housing unaffordable, because they're gobbling up all of the assets themselves. The rich have got richer. That is the problem, not migrants, not people coming in on boats. And they shouldn't have to come in on boats. There should be safe legal routes for anyone to apply for asylum on the internet. I don't understand why Labour aren't pursuing this. I guess it's a conversation for another day. But then we've got to ask who actually benefits from this backlash. Well, political actors who require permanent crisis narratives. We're going from one crisis to the next. The people selling the newspapers want to sell you this lie that we're in this omni-crisis, this perma-crisis that envelops our entire lives. Why would they want to do that? Well, because they want to distract from the real crises that we are facing, i.e. the crisis in the cost of living and the crisis in the environment, which are the big crises at this time. The idea that it's people who are a bit more melanin, whatever it is, skin color, than someone else. That's the biggest problem. It's not. And people having a different religious, they pray to a different God. That's not the problem. In fact, Muslims, Jews, and Christians all pray nominally to the same God of the Bronze Age desert, the Bronze Age desert people. But who pays the price? It's minorities who are having to alter their daily routines to avoid abuse, and obviously this includes trans people as well. Children who are targeted on the way to schools, communities withdrawing from public life out of fear. And I've dear friends who are trans who are not spending as much time out there in public life because of the backlash that has been formulated by the oil companies and the billionaires who got together and said, we need a minority of a minority to target, someone that doesn't have much of a political voice, someone that doesn't have the power to fight back, and we need to go after them. Who should we go after? And they threw a dart at a dartboard that had all these different minorities on it, and unfortunately, for all my awesome, beautiful trans friends out there, they went after the trans people. And then they said, oh no, we're actually feminists, That's why I don't like the word TERF, because it ends in feminism. I think it should end in fascist. Trans-exclusionary radical fascist. That's what it should stand for, because they fucking are. They are fascists. They're people who don't want a particular group of people existing. It's pretty fucking fascist. They don't want people from a particular minority to take part in public life. That's fucking fascist. They want separate toilets for different people. Differences that are skin deep, that they want different toilets for them. That's fucking fascist. That's what they had in Jim Crow South America, South USA. That's what they had in apartheid South Africa. What is it with South say? Why are the Norths always much friendlier, with the exception of North Korea, obviously? What is it with the South? Why are the Souths all twats? All the planets have Norths. So, re-establishing clear and legal and social, re-establishing clear social and legal consequences for hate speech, I think, is really, really important. And I'm really concerned about the fact that the police have said, oh, we're not going to go after people who write horrible things on Twitter anymore, after Graham Linehan was arrested at Heathrow Airport for saying that you should go around assaulting trans people. It's a man who has like 500,000 people following him. I don't know, whatever. Gobshites on Twitter following. Actually, it's probably 500,000 fucking bots. There's only about 10 people who fucking listen to the stupid bastard anymore. But yeah, political leaders refusing to take racism on as a massive concern that we have right now, and also we need platforms being treated as public infrastructure that actually has decent moderation, like we do in our lovely chat here, where there's a gobshite comes on the chat, our wonderful mods like Wayne and Diz and Yuri, they can get rid of the motherfucker because we're not having that. We moderate. We say no, this isn't the platform for being horrible. 4chan's down the road. See you later. Farage wishes us all a gloomy new year. Thank you very much to Captain Coconut for the super chat there. It's very kind of you. Too much sun, Graham. Oi, wind your fucking neck in, says Wayne. The police arrested for saying intifada, FFS. The police arrested people for saying intifada. You know what? We don't know why Britonians bother when we get this abuse. Sorry, Bane. Are you from the north of Brighton, though? That might be a nice part. Not all Southerners. Oh, I need a not all Southerners animation now. We South Londoners are looked down on by those north of the Thames. That is very true. That is very true. Right off down the cemetery to speak to my old friends and keep warm. Good people, see you all later. Thanks very much, Plum Duff and Leon. We've got Simon Smith here. Lord Malcolm offered Baron, offered of Gavel, ex-Tory, House of Lords, named Reform leader in Scotland, stood down from House of Lords to stand as an MSP. Well, he sounds like a gobshite. Slagging off the South. Oh, slagging off. Just a joke. Just a joke, darling. God, they get so upset. Keep your southern pants on. But yeah, multiculturalism isn't failing. It is visibly succeeding, and racism is louder now than it has been in a while because it's losing ground, because their backs against the wall, because they know that they're not going to win this in the long run, and the real danger to our way of being, our society, the institutions that we've created, is tolerating racism. It's tolerating this backlash against progress rather than confronting it. So yeah, that's just reading that story in The Guardian today triggered me talking about this, the fact that hate crimes on public transport have gone through the roof because people feel like, they can say horrible shit to people now and get away with it. Absolutely get away with it. Okay, so South London accent is Siri's accent, says Pete Rosebud. From my perspective, everyone south of Birmingham is a Cockney. You gotta piss off. I don't think One Angry Pagan's watching this, but One Angry Pagan gets very upset if we lump the Southwesters in with the Southeasters. Racism is expensive. That's a really good point. That is a really good point. And Lisa says, I'm from the South East Coast. I'll not have a scouse casting aspersions, lol. I'm not casting. Okay. I do need a little animation that says, not all Southerners. Not all Southerners. Just a joke. Just a wee joke. Hey, listen. Seriously. It's proper gobshites around here in Durham. Proper little fucking shagging flags and putting them up on fucking bowls. Caravan Lad, thank you very much for the £3 super chat. That's very kind of you, Caravan Lad. We have got we've got a little bit of time for the to make Diz's day and to make the goal of 10 super chats. We're on 3 super chats at the moment, so if anyone wants to drop a few more in, a few more pennies in for the pot, we will have confetti, which I very much enjoy. Lisa, we are correct. Let's have a rallying year so we can tackle them in elections. That involves parties, raves, festivals, I guess. Festives, fun and love. Yes, I agree. I think we should have more cool stuff that you can only go to if you're liberal. Not a liberal Democrat. I mean, like, just, generally a nice person. You can only go. Nice people only, please. Racists need not apply. Nice one, Cavan. Will Graham call you Caravan again? I hope not. Caravan of Love. The Caravan of Love. Grew up in the 70s when polite racism was the norm, says Captain Coconut. Now there's none of that. Generationally, we are fixing the problem of treating people with different skin pigmentation differently. Lol, yes, you did. Sorry, did I do that? Sorry, Cavan lad. I feel really bad now because Cavan lad gave a super chat and then I read their name out incorrectly. I'll blame my glasses. Getting old in my old age. Can't see things. Urbane Legend, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. Here you go, you anti-Southern maniac. Okay, we're going to quickly have a look at the papers now. I'm sorry, but content trigger warning here. Nearly all the papers are talking about the horrific fire that happened on New Year in Switzerland. Just something to say about that before we get into it. Fucking disgrace. Fucking disgrace. And the Swiss authorities should hang their heads in fucking shame that they allowed this to happen. Because this is the third time in a year that there was a fire in a nightclub started by some kind of pyrotechnics that had foam on the fucking roof and not enough space for people to get out of the place. There was an incident earlier in the year, horrific incident in North Macedonia, and then earlier in December there was a horrific incident in India, and exactly the same thing. A fire in a crowded club, not enough exits, no fucking sprinklers, and literally they had material on the ceiling that burnt like a motherfucker. Really, really flammable material on a ceiling of a club that had no egress, not enough egress for people to get out. What happened in this fire in Switzerland? It is beyond. This is something where people need to go to jail. Politicians, local governments, people need to go to fucking jail for this because they have at least 47 fucking deaths on their hands because people couldn't get out because that building had not been inspected for fire safety. And for those out there who say, health and safety, health and safety, are we? Fuck off. Because if we don't have health and safety, we don't have the highest standards of health and safety, this is the shit that happens. 47 innocent young people, their lives now curtailed. 100 people injured, some of them with life-changing injuries. They couldn't get out. Bodies were piled up on the stairs. We were clambering over dead bodies to get out of that inferno. That went up in seconds because they had flammable material on the ceiling of the club, and there weren't enough fucking exits. There was one exit, which was not wide enough to get everybody out of. And there was a glass door at the top. I think that opened inwards. I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm so fucking horrified and angry that this has happened again. Don't forget, New Year 2025 started with a horrific attack in New Orleans, which wasn't an accident. It was someone running their car through a crowd of people and trying to kill as many people as possible. I think they killed 15 people on New Year 2025, and New Year 2026 started in a similar fashion with people dying because some people are gobshites. Some people are fucking gobshites. Whoever owns this club, whoever ran this club, whoever put that fucking insulating, the acoustic foam on the ceiling, jail for the rest of their motherfucking lives. Because we need to start doing this. We need to start actually punishing the people who make things like Piper Alpha explode, who make Grenfell go up like a fucking firework. We need to start punishing the people who have created these situations in which people die. We need to make them an example of them. And I know that we can't crucify them on a big road to fucking the capital, so you can see all the, screaming as you walk along the road. What did you do? Well, didn't do the health and safety properly on a property that I owned, and 40 people died as a result. Oh, that's nice. We can't do that anymore, unfortunately, for some. But what we can do is put them in jail for every life that they have stolen, for every family that they have ripped apart by their own fucking greed and incompetence. Like, fuck, we need to make an example of the people who allowed this to happen. Because all things being equal, if it had been a fire and people had died, but, everyone had been able to, as many people as possible had been able to get out, and the ceiling wasn't covered in highly flammable material. I mean, that stuff went up in seconds. In seconds. Yeah, I'm sorry, but if you are going to have a position of power over that many people, and then you do allow something like this to happen, you don't take everything possible in your means to make sure that those people are safe in your property, in your pub, in your club, in your bar, then that's it. Off to jail. Off to fucking jail for the rest of your life. We need to set a fucking example. And Gallifreyan Ren says, housing officer just called me. Nothing practical can be done in the short term. Sorry. But now confident that the gears are turning. Okay, that's good. Lisa's still here. Yep, sorry. Lisa, hello. Lisa, someone's trying to talk to Lisa. Health and safety, keep us all alive. Don't get me started on people who moan about it, says Almo. Well, I think I've just articulated in a roundabout way what you probably feel. And I noticed this incident in Switzerland, by the way, and yet our local issues are not given any time on air. Is it because the rich kids were burning? No, not necessarily, Captain Coconut. I think it's because it's so fucking shocking. I think that's why it's given a lot of... I mean, this is genuinely shocking. It was shocking when it happened in India. It was shocking when it happened in North Macedonia. And I think that this needs to be... we need to make a big fucking deal about this so it doesn't happen again. But Grenfell, there are still buildings out there in the UK that have cladding on the outside that will go up like a fucking Roman candle in the right circumstances. Here we are, 8 years on from Grenfell, and that is still the case. That to me is just so fucking horrific. It's so wrong on so many levels. And God, it's 9 years, isn't it? 9 years this year, Grenfell. It was 2017. Jesus, 9 years. 9 years. No one's gone to jail, and there are still buildings that have flammable material on the outside, flammable cladding that still hasn't been fucking removed. Can you believe that? In Australia, where Grenfell didn't even fucking happen, they saw it on the news and went, ooh, okay, let's get rid of all of the flammable material on the outsides of all our buildings that have flammable material on the outsides of them. And they fucking did it. They did it. They just ran around the fucking country ripping it off. And the government paid for it. Here in the UK, we're asking people who couldn't afford a house, so they bought a little flat. We're saying, oh, you've got to pay to get rid of that fucking cladding. That'll kill you if you leave it on. Oh, I haven't got the money for that. Well, you're fucked then, aren't you? So yeah, I don't have a problem with it being all over the news. I think it should be all over the news because I think it needs to shock people into fucking actually doing something and making sure that these places where there's a lot of people hanging out are fucking safe and they don't have fucking, flammable material on the ceiling. That should be the fucking minimum. They should have a sprinkler system in place. That should be the minimum. Have at least 2 egresses, so there's 2 ways of getting out of the building, out of that room. There needs to be at least 2 ways out of everywhere. If you're going to have hundreds of people in a room, you need 2 ways out. So if one way is blocked for whatever reason, people can get out another way. But that costs time. It costs money. It takes effort. We don't want to spend any money. We just want to make money. But yeah, fucking disgraceful. Fucking disgraceful. I worked as a professional arsonist for 15 years after leaving school. I have tested the Grenfell cladding. It failed British standards 476-20, and it was still fitted. Yeah, Captain Coconut, it was. The issue with cheap insulation is it needs an air gap. So when fire is introduced, the cladding or roofing acts as a chimney flue. That is very, very true. That is very true. What happened in the fire, as far as I'm aware, obviously, you need fire investigators to go into this. I'm not an expert in any way, but what I can imagine from the little I know about fire, if they're in a basement and there was one set of stairs going up, and those stairs would have been a chimney. There would absolutely been a chimney. That's where all the smoke would have gone up, and that's where people were trying to get out. Yeah. The fact Grenfell wasn't a turning point of people going to prison is shameful. Yeah, but we saw it in Hong Kong. The Wang Fuk complex went up in flames. All 7 buildings of it, and they were telling people to stay in place. They were telling people to shelter in place. What the Jesus. Have we learned that? But at least in Hong Kong, they had arrested people while the fire was still fucking burning. They were arresting people. Indeed. Right, I'm going to head over to this. You can make insulation and soundproofing materials, but it costs a shit ton more money. Capitalism. Yeah, they went for the cheapest fucking option, and they put some soundproofing on the ceiling, which was flammable, which should be mega illegal. It should be absolutely illegal for this very reason. Anyway, I'll go to the papers now. Yeah, it's really grim. New Year horror inferno there. Horror on New Year's Eve. Poor get poorer under Labour despite Starmer's promises. This is from the Daily Telegraph. Islamist killer wins 240,000 battle over his human rights. God, I hate the fucking Telegraph. The way they frame stuff is just so infuriating. Was it Hong Kong or Shanghai? It was Hong Kong. Sorry, did I say Shanghai? I meant Hong Kong. Farage won't be leader of reform in Scotland. PM's mentor hits out at jury trial curbs. Russia tricked into paying Kyiv $500,000. And Kemi is making a resurgence, is the story there. If you say so. Can stinging injections into my scalp really bring my hair back? Asked Sarah Vine. I don't know. Claudia reveals a sensational new traitor's twist. There's Claudia Winkleman there. And I'm very glad to have predicted correctly that the red cloaked traitor is someone who is unknown to everybody in the game, but also unknown to us at home. Because one of the things that I've said about the traitors is that I would like to be able to play along with the people who don't know who the traitors are, but you're told who the traitors are from the get-go. So it's like an episode of Columbo in that you know who the killers are, or the killer is in Columbo from the get-go, and it's like, how is Columbo going to solve this? And I like the idea of having a character in this TV show who nobody knows they are a traitor, and you at home have got to try and work it out. I think it's Jade. Anyway, so for those of you not watching The Traitors, you can come back now. Champagne sparklers blamed for inferno that cost 47 lives. Witnesses claim New Year party props sparked horror blaze at Swiss ski bar. Just really fucking grim. Troubles bill treats military veterans worse than terrorists. This is from the Murdoch rag, because obviously they're just going to have a go at Sir Keir Starmer's Troubles aide has been accused. So it's Starmer's, not the government. It's all Starmer's fault. Dozens die in New Year inferno at Swiss ski bar. PM former aide takes aim at weird Whitehall. Sir Keir Starmer again. That's, 2 stories here start with the words Sir Keir Starmer. This article here, Sir Keir Starmer. This one, Sir Keir Starmer must confront vested interests in Whitehall whose fringe obsessions are emasculating the government. All right, whatever. Joe Wicks, low res exercise and healthy eating guide. Horror on the dance floor. Horror movie Inferno kills dozens at ski party. Really fucking grim. Claudia's joy at fantastic new secret traitor twist, which I agree. I think it's a really, really good idea from the makers of The Traitors, which genuinely is the best reality TV show that we've had for fucking years. I mean, not since maybe the first series of Big Brother, when everyone really started, getting into the Big Brother thing. Before that ran out of steam, and I'm sure that the Traitors will run out of steam at some point. But it is simply playing Cluedo. It's just a murder mystery game. You've got to sort out who it is. But the human interactions, especially as it gets towards the end of the game are really, it's just a very interesting take on an old put people together in a room and see how they get on sort of idea. And yeah, it takes the best elements of some of um, the the um, the reality TV show genre, which a lot of us sort of thought was kind of dead at this point. I mean, not many of us watch this shit anymore. But yeah, it's done. It's good. It's good. The Celebrity Traitors last year was particularly entertaining, and I like the idea of having a show that you can watch with the family and you can all get into and go, oh, it's them, it's them. It's playing a nationwide whodunit murder mystery is quite fun. Anyway, so back to the papers. From joy to horror in seconds, at least 40 killed by Swiss fire. Populist and existential threat to UK democracy. I agree with that. I absolutely agree. Keir Starmer does not. See how they don't call him Sir Keir Starmer in The Guardian? Because the way that they use the Sir is essentially a bit of a snark. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit of a sneer at Keir Starmer, a sneer at Keir. To call him Sir Keir Starmer. Oh no, we have to call him Sir. It's very important because what they want to do is make it sound like to anyone reading that, well, I'm not a Sir, so he must be different to me. Whereas, Keir Starmer, I know he's tremendously middle class, but I wouldn't put him in the same echelons as the Tory front bench who are all bloody millionaires, aren't they? Mandami promises new era as New York mayor is the other story in Guardian, which is sounds good. In Guardian, at least 40 dead and 115 injured after fire hit Swiss resort. Really, really grim. Significant number of casualties taken to hospital in critical condition, with neighbouring countries offering to lend support in treating patients with severe burns. And then finally, we'll head over to the FT, the Financial Times, the only sensible paper there is, I think. And so they've got the story about the fire in Switzerland. Absolutely so fucking grim. We've got SpaceX, OpenAI, and Anthropic hold out promise of 2026 listing bonanza. 3 tech titans plans IPOs. Boost for banks and investors. Sums would dwarf last year's total, which is, they're making that bubble bigger and bigger and bigger. When it bursts or starts to deflate, we are going to be in a lot of fucking trouble. Vitriol poured on Starmer and Reeves poses a puzzle. Pollsters are not surprised by Sir Keir Starmer's lack of popularity, but the rage directed at him and Rachel Reeves has them baffled. For a rather dull and inoffensive politician, Starmer generates remarkable levels of hate, says one. Others say they are a vessel for anger over living standards and services that built up over years, with Labour set for a drubbing in council and devolved assembly elections. Their leadership face a further tests. This is one of the reasons why I can't see Starmer surviving to the next election as Prime Minister. But we will see. Iran hawks high-tech arms for crypto in an attempt to evade Western sanctions. Iran is offering to sell advanced weapon systems, including ballistic missiles, drones, and warships for cryptocurrency in a bid to use digital assets to bypass Western financial controls. So it's crypto then being used once again for nefarious ends, which is why it was invented. It was so criminals could sell their drugs and sell their weapons, sell their tobacco, sell their fucking oil, whatever it was they wanted to sell, without the pesky oversight of the international community. Anarcho-capitalism. Anyway, we've got assets in the briefing here. Asset sales rise to 1 trillion as conglomerates lose luster. We've got legal barriers for women. Female barristers made up 23% of advocates presenting cases at the Supreme Court in 2025. A share that has not changed for 17 years. That's insane. Small boat arrivals rise. The number of irregular migrants arriving by small boats jumped by 13% last year, the second highest on record, heaping pressure on Keir Starmer's vow to smash the gangs, which we said wouldn't work. Dirty money fines decline. Total fines imposed by the US for money laundering and sanctions breaching in 2025 represent a 61% drop from the year before, which is no surprise because Trump is dirty money. And US chokes Maduro funds. Washington has placed sanctions on 4 oil traders operating in Venezuela. They can just use crypto, so whatever. Or AI threat to banking jobs. More than 200,000 European banking jobs are under threat over the next 5 years as lenders adopt artificial intelligence and close more branches, which is just going to be a fucking disaster. I will say it now. Pasta wins tariffs reprieve. Washington has scaled back tariffs that would have doubled the cost of Italian pasta brands. And we have crosswords as well to look forward to. It's Among Us with Claudia Winkleman. How about you on a collab? Not serious then. What's this about? Do you remember all the different Angel Delight flavors? Lime, orange, strawberry. Yes, I do. Strawberry was the best, though. I think the rest tasted a bit weird, to be honest with you. 2000 Hollywood actors strike. Reality, The Apprentice, Trump. Yeah. Some of the pubs I ran in the 80s, 90s had the fire doors chained and padlocked as company policy. Yeah, to stop people getting in, to stop people letting their mates in. There's a simple way around that, is to fit an alarm. So the alarm goes off, the music goes off, and the siren, the house lights go on, and the siren goes off when there is someone opens the door. Make it really fucking obvious who it was and chuck them out. The traitors, but that costs money. The traitors prove TV is alive when you make iconic TV, and we need the BBC and TV industry to succeed. Yes, we do. Well, I mean, Adolescents proved that as well last year. There is an appetite for dramas. You just have to make them really good, to make them really fucking good. Graham is now about 3-4 seconds out of sync. Oh, well, that's no good. Why am I out of sync? Oh shit. Okay. I'm looking at my monitor and it's in sync on my monitor. Shit. Highlight of today's show, Graham declaring war on the SARF. Can't wait to see you, pal. What? Oh, you bastard. Starfish and coffee, maple syrup and jam, butterscotch clouds and tangerine with a side order of ham, says Elle. That sounds delightful. I do prefer the FT for news. No opinion rage baiting in those headlines. No. It's a lot better. Martin Harrow, legal and finance already have AI working well, still behind the scenes, but gaining traction. Our son's mate's mum's head of AI and robotics at Liverpool Uni. Wow. Don't we all watch the traitors when Farage, Tice, etc. appear on any channel? Yes, that's very true. They're a lot less entertaining now. And yeah, TV needs more sci-fi, investigative journalists, and political satire. Yeah, David Peacock. I completely agree on political satire. That absolutely needs to, because what fascism hates is being laughed at. What these fascist fucks hate more than anything else in the world is being ridiculed. They can't stand it. So the more ridicule that we heap on them, the better. Sci-fi has always been difficult to get on TV because it's always seen as expensive. It's always seen as expensive. There was quite an entertaining interview the other day between, it was on New Year's Eve, on Radio 6, where Craig Charles is one of the DJs on Radio 6. And he was interviewing Doug Naylor, who was one of the writers and now is the sole writer of Red Dwarf. And they were talking about, Doug Naylor's work on Spitting Image, the fact that he wrote the Chicken Song with Rob Grant and Philip Pope did the tune. I mean, that is hilarious. Spent 3 weeks at #1 in the mid-80s. Every kid knows all the fucking words to it. And they were talking about getting Red Dwarf commissioned and just how unlikely it was. He was a jobbing writer. Him and Rob Grant, they put across a few different ideas. It was BBC Manchester, which was seen as sort of, out in the sticks because the main hub of activity for the BBC was in London. And yeah, there was just, in the end, the producer, I think it was Paul Jackson, was it? Had like 3 options in front of it. It was Red Dwarf, something else, and he just happened to pick up Red Dwarf. But at the start, it was seen as, we're not doing sci-fi, it's too expensive. And they were like, no, we can do it cheap. It's just basically going to be, people sitting on a couch, but in space. And they're like, okay, we can probably do that. We can probably stretch the effects budget to create a spaceship to go past the camera really slowly now and again to show they're on a spaceship and not on a soundstage. Actually, Red Dwarf was filmed in front of a live studio audience. I'm a bit jealous of my older brother Mike because he got to see Red Dwarf being filmed in Manchester when he was a student there. Still waiting for the culture to be adapted to the screen. Stick a deck chair up your nose. Yes, see, Gallifreyan vent sticks in your head. Buy a jumbo jet and then bury all your clothes. They have quietly removed the National Guard from Portland. The Dancing Frogs won. Yes, and also was it Supreme Court or a court has told Trump that they've got to remove the National Guard from everywhere they went in. You're fine, Graham. Oh, thanks, Diz. Thank you, Diz. Graham, they are out to sing. Not you, matey. Inform them to click the live button from the stream to catch up. Yes, click the live button. So I'm going to get going in a minute. So if we are going to try and get this confetti, we're going to have to do it now. But what I'm going to do, right, because I don't think we're going to get 6 loads of super chats in. I'm gonna start another goal, right? And it's just 1 super chat. Okay, so we get 1 super chat before I go. Oh, hang on. Oh, it's saying that only 1 creator goal can be active at any one time. Oh, I see. Remove goal. I needed to remove the old one. Why allow me? Why have the thing saying start another goal? Oh, I see. It's because if you've already finished it, I guess. Okay, right. So 1 super chat. 1 super chat, any colour, and we will get confetti. Liz 10, and love, respect, and solidarity, people. Thanks for your company, Graham. You are a legend. Oh, thanks, Lisa. Thank you. I'm tall. I'm so tall. You raise me, and then you let me fall. I've not heard that song in years. Wonderful nonsense. Yeah, it was just a piss take of Kajagoogoo. Not Kajagoogoo. What was it called? What was that song that was everywhere in the 1980s? Agadoo. It was just a piss take of Agadoo. And they wrote the lyrics like I think it was like Rob wrote a line and then Doug wrote a line and Rob wrote a line. It was literally they wrote it out like in about 5 fucking minutes and came up with this pop hit that was absolutely massive. And do you know what else? Anyone who bought the fucking single will remember. The B-side was "I've Never Met a Nice South African," which at the time, if you were black, you weren't officially South African. You had to use a passport to get into the white towns that made up South Africa. The white cities. So it was legit to sing a song about South Africans not being very nice against an anti-apartheid song. So Martin Harrow, £2 super chat, says boom, and Urbane Legends, £5 super chat. Happy New Year's all. Thank you so much, and that does mean that we now have what we've been waiting for all this time. Confetti! Woo! Confetti floating down the screen. Lovely. We can edge you now by waiting 2 hours to buy a super chat. Are you going to edge me? Are you going to edge me, Captain Coconut? Elle says, remember, you give blood, there's a good chance your blood can end up in someone's boner. Excellent. Good. I like to hear it. Or on someone's boner, I guess, if they're having period sex. Dragons Marine, goldfish shoals nipping at your toes. Fun in the sun. Yeah, they were talking about when Howard Goodall delivered the theme tune. It was a really good conversation. It was on BBC Radio 6, Craig Charles show on New Year's Eve. If you're interested in Red Dwarf, there's a good segment where they talk about it. But they were talking about like Howard Goodall turning up with this music for the show, and they were like, "Did you watch the right show? What the fuck is this?" But obviously, in time, the theme tune of Red Dwarf became a bit iconic. I've actually met Howard Goodall, at least tangentially, because he was in a Zoom meeting once when we were fighting Brexit, I think. And we had a chat afterwards, and he was telling me that. For Red Dwarf, the idea was he was going to change the lyrics for each episode. Something that I think he did for at least 1 season of Blackadder. He changed the lyrics to Blackadder, depending on what happened in the episode. And he was going to do the same for Red Dwarf, but they ended up just sticking with what they had from the first episode, which was Lister's dream of going to Fiji and drinking mango juice. Graham finally gave the money shot, literally. Oh, thanks very much for that image. Supermassive Wayne. I'll see you tonight, mate. Come on the show tonight. Red Dwarf started off very low budget, but brilliant writing and concepts. Yeah. And I've got to say, David, like I preferred the earlier season. Well, I think it really hit stride in the 3rd season. I think that's when it really became the Red Dwarf that we kind of know and love. Really good mix of sci-fi concepts and sitcom. The earlier seasons were a bit more sitcom, and they kind of painted themselves into a bit of a corner when they started Red Dwarf because they said there was going to be no aliens in it. So when they meet aliens, it's always genetically engineered life forms, Gelfs, which were genetically engineered by humans, and listed being the last human and everything. So they kind of painted themselves into a bit of a corner with that. But obviously, I guess with the budget restrictions that they had, they were like, oh no, we're not going to have any alien costumes. We're not going to have a different alien each week, like Doctor Who does. Because at the time, don't forget, Doctor Who was incredibly unpopular in the 80s. I think it was Michael Grade, was it, at the BBC, who absolutely fucking hated Doctor Who. He moved it from the Saturday night slot, the Saturday evening slot that it had enjoyed for decades. He moved it to like Tuesday night on BBC Two at 6 o'clock or something, and the budget for the shows went down and down, and obviously, if you make something shit, you get people to say, "Oh, this is shit. We should stop this now," which is what they did with our trains. Best one was Flowery Twats. Faulty Towers. That one, like the sign on Faulty Towers. Oh yeah, Martin. Yeah, Flowery Twats. Farty towels. Red Dwarf, Blackadder the Second's the lyrics change. Yeah, I thought I wasn't imagining that. That was Howard Goodall as well. Red Dwarf, 3 to 5 is the best. The Inquisitor had deeper meaning about human psychology. Yeah. But my favourite episode when I was a kid was Polymorph, because it was a piss take of Alien and it was just dead funny. And it had Rimmer turning into Jeremy Corbyn for some reason. But as I've got older, my favourite episode is Marooned. The one where it's a season 3, episode 2, I think, or series 3, episode 2. And it's the one where they're on the ice planet and it's just Rimmer and Lister. It's just them. It's a two-hander. It's like Waiting for Godot, but in space. Fucking love it. Just some really, really good writing in that. He put Doctor Who against Corrie. Yeah, he did. Yeah, it was Michael Gray, wasn't it? Motherfucker. Crichton was a brilliant creation, as was Talkie Toaster. Talkie Toaster was fucking fantastic. I knew Corbyn reminded me of someone. Yes, he's Rimmer after he has all his anger taken from him by the polymorph. And he's wearing a t-shirt saying, "Give Keisha a chance." Yes, that is definite. Apart from when it was sung by an Elvis impersonator or played on a Hammond organ, best episode by a mile was Back to Reality, with a great part by Timothy Spall. Yes, I agree. But Back to Reality was good, except they had done the same sort of thing in the Better Than Life episode in season 2, where they were in a game and they didn't realise they were in a game. I'm surprised the electronics manufacturer Smeg did not sue Red Dwarf, because I think they got a bit of notoriety out of it, to be honest. Yeah, Smeg and Rimmer, I think, get away with that. Oh, don't say that, Diz. My partner met Cat once, Danny John Jules. Unfortunately, he was a prick. Oh, don't tell me that. I don't want to know. I hate it when I find out that people that I like are gobshites in real life. Your guitar was made of camphor wood. It must have been worth a fortune. Burn the soldiers. Burn them right now. Backwards is best. Stop. I'm getting a parting in the back of my hair. Lol. Yeah, Backwards is quite a funny episode as well. And then there was some really good sci-fi concepts in there. I mean, Backwards, the idea that the universe expands and then it hits a point where it starts contracting, and it takes time with it, so everything goes backwards. And it's kind of, when we go back inside our mothers, we goes back in until we all become one glorious whole. You are one glorious whole. Anyway, so yeah, thanks for watching this morning. Thank you for the super chats. Obviously, we did get we got the confetti, which is the main thing. I'm going to be back at 1 o'clock for the agenda with me and Phil Morehouse. It's going to be the first one that we've done in 2 weeks, so please join us for that. And we'll be talking about Starmer's unpopularity and what the fuck he can do about it. At this point, I'm thinking, not much, but we will see. We will see, my friends. So I'm off to get some breakfast now, to get some breakfast. But again, thanks for joining us. Thanks for the super chats. Thanks for keeping everything cordial and fun in the chat. And I'm just like, talking about the news every day, it's not supposed to be fun, is it? You just should be sitting there going, "Oh God, it's all fucking awful. All these bad things are happening." But you help make this fun and interesting and different. And I really like the fact that we have this interaction and we have this conversation as the show's going through. I much prefer doing the live streams, which I exclusively do now, than doing the pre-records, which is just me talking to a fucking camera and there's no interaction. There's no there's nothing dynamic about it, and it's not fun. This is fun. We're talking about the news. We're talking about politics, which shouldn't be fun. But we have found a way, you and I, of doing this in a fun way. So thank you for keeping me sane over the last few years. Because with all that's gone on, without your help, I would be bloody, I don't know, sticking a couple of pencils up my nose and going wibble. Okay, so until next time, I say thank you so much for watching. Please, if you are not subscribed to the channel, subscribe. Give us a like as well. Give us a like on the way out. It doesn't cost anything to subscribe or to like. And please consider joining the channel, which will give you access to the Discord server. And that is all good. And until next time, I'll say thank you so much for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.